Welcome to the Nonno Giorgio and Rory Cooking Italian for Weight Loss channel. Today's recipe is Risotto Milanese. Just look at how creamy it looks. It is delicious. Welcome back to the Nonno Giorgio and Rory Cooking Italian for Weight Loss. Today we're going to do one of my favorite recipes, Risotto Milanese.
This is something George is wonderful at, and he makes when we have people come and stay, and you'll see how easy it is, but it has tricks to it that you will see when George makes it.
One of the things you want to be aware of is you cannot walk away from this dish while it's cooking. You have to constantly stir. It doesn't mean stir every second, but every minute you want to make sure you're stirring it so that it doesn't clump up. You want to make sure that as you put the broth in, it doesn't dry out. You want to stay on top of that. And when the risotto is done, you eat. If people aren't there, you eat.
Don't be late for risotto, because you'll just have to eat later.
I've trained my daughter Jackie to know this, so she knows when the risotto is done, you better be there, because if you're late, you're going to get bad risotto. Okay, so let's get started. As you can see over here, we've got all kinds of ingredients out. We're ready to go. I like to set my ingredients up and get ready to cook. So let's get started with Risotto Milanese.
Yay! We're starting the risotto.
Okay, the first thing is we've got vegetable broth, because we're vegetarian, heating up on the stove. And got that set on medium. I've turned my pot that I'm going to cook the risotto in, and I'll put a little olive oil. The recipe says a quarter cup, but I kind of cook by just looking. Okay, so we'll let that just heat up a minute, and then we're going to saute some onions with a little bit of salt on them so they bring the flavor of the onion out. When the onions get translucent, then we're ready to start the rest of the risotto. So this recipe takes different steps. Each one takes a few minutes to get there, and the end result is wonderful. All right, so I'm going to dump my onions in. I'm going to take a little bit of salt, just a little, and we'll stir it around. And it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes. The onions will get soft and translucent. Alright, so we've got 1 medium onion or 2 small onions. And if you look, they're nice and translucent. They're soft. And now I'm going to dump the rice in. The rice is arborio rice. It's an Italian rice. You can't make this dish with any other kind of rice. The arborio rice is a special Italian rice that is very, very hard to bite. It's like a nutshell. But when you put it in liquid, it starts to swell up, soaking the liquid in, and becomes risotto. What I'm doing now is toasting it with the onions. And it takes maybe 2 minutes toasting. You just want to get a little crunch. Okay, so now I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of white wine. and this should sizzle. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take a ladle of the broth out. And I'm going to put our saffron into that broth. Now, this is a kind of a dark broth, so it's not going to turn as golden as you sometimes see risotto Milanese. So now you start with 2 ladles of broth. And this is the part you got to keep up. So if you look in here, you can see it's liquidy, and you want to keep it so it doesn't completely dry out. If you were to taste this now, it would be like eating a nutshell. It would be very hard pieces of rice. You basically stir it, once every 30 seconds to a minute, just to make sure that it's soaking up, so you can tell it's already absorbing the broth and the rice is puffing up. So now I'm going to put 2 more ladles. In the beginning you can put 2 ladles at a time in. As you get to the end, you don't want to do that. You want to only put a ladle at a time. Because at some point when the rice gets fully cooked, it won't absorb any more water. And you don't want to be left with it soupy and wet. You want it to be kind of thick. We'll come back in a minute when we've got enough of the gravy in, and we'll finish cooking the risotto. So we've been putting 2 ladles full of the vegetable broth in and stirring it. Now I'll drop down to 1 ladle at a time. But first I have our saffron in some hot broth, and I'm going to pour that in and stir it up. And again, you just keep stirring. You can see it's very juicy, soupy now. You want that to boil down. You don't have to use up all the broth. The rice knows how much to take in. Just don't be caught with a pot full of broth and the rice is done, because then it'll be soupy and it won't be a risotto. Okay, we're just going to let that sit for a second and we'll be back. Okay, so the trick of risotto is knowing when to stop with the juice. And I'm going to just taste this. That's now cooked, it's al dente. If you look at the pot, you see there's no liquid. It looks like a risotto would look. For the next step, you take it off the heat, put in your Parmesan Reggiano cheese, a little bit of salt, and some pepper. And then you stir this up. Good. Because the cheese is going to melt into the risotto. That looks good. There's your risotto. Okay, we're going to plate this now. Now the recipe we have in the information below is for 4 people. We cut this one in half since there's just the 2 of us. You can increase it. You don't want to do too much. It's not a dish that's easy to make for a crowd. Okay, we've plated our risotto. Now you can, when it's in the pot, the last 3 minutes or so, you can add small shrimp. You don't want jumbo shrimp because they're too big in the risotto. You can add clams, you can add mussels, small bay scallops. Mushrooms are wonderful.
Yes.
and any kind of vegetable you want, asparagus. Just chop it up into bite-sized pieces, put it in, and let's let it cook a little bit at the very end, stirring it around. Makes wonderful. So we have basic risotto Milanese. We've got our white wine to go with it, and we're ready to taste.
And this is what it looks like. It's a beautiful golden color. And I can't wait to taste it. Oh, the cheese is cheesy.
It is so delicious. As Rory said, it's cheesy. The rice, you know, we didn't overcook it, so it's still got a little bit of a chew to it, but it's not hard, it's not uncooked. This is a wonderful dish, but you have to eat it as soon as it's done. The risotto tells you when to eat. You don't tell the risotto.
And we are glad to eat it when it's done. No problem.
Okay, for now,
Bye.
ciao and arrivederci.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you have enjoyed our channel. If you have, please hit the subscribe button below and the bell next to it so you get notified of new videos when they come out.